welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and I'm not going to lie, it feels a little bit weird that we don't have a Union midweek game because for the longest time there, it seemed like we were going Wednesday, Saturday. And so the Union go again this upcoming Saturday away in Toronto, but then that upcoming Wednesday, the Union are at home against New England and then at home on Saturday against Nashville. So we get 1 week off, and then we start back another midweek game. But speaking of midweek games, thank you guys for listening to the podcast where I gave my thoughts on the Chicago Fire Philadelphia Union dumpster fire of a game. And if you guys couldn't tell, obviously I was tired because that's the earliest I've ever recorded a podcast, 8 o'clock in the morning. And for people who have never been to Chicago, 10 out of 10 recommend. Beautiful city. Winded up walking 25 miles in 3 days. And my feet, they were definitely hurting. I definitely got lots of blisters on them, which was a first for me. But I guess, when you're constantly going and not taking breaks, that's bound to happen. And, I was a big fan of Nike Free Run 5.0. But I guess there's a reason why Nike discontinued that shoe. And that seems to be why, right? Giving you blisters. But I woke up at 6 o'clock, and so it's 7 o'clock on Eastern time zone. And I'm like, you know what? Let's go ahead and just go to breakfast. And once I came back from breakfast, I'm like, you know what? Let's record the podcast. So I recorded the podcast for like 30 minutes, and then I did the goals breakdown video, and then went to get something to eat. And then, like I said in that episode, wound up going to Wrigley Field to see the Cubs versus Phillies. And of course, the game I go to, the Phillies get blown out. And all of you guys are saying, yep, you're never allowed back to another Phillies game again. Fair point. But Wrigley, beautiful stadium, absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, it's cool to be in one of the oldest stadiums in baseball. And then did have that old school baseball vibe. The concessions and everything. Fans complain about how tight Subaru Park is, but go to Wrigley Field and then you can really see how tight the concourse really is. But I loved it. I loved every second of it. Sitting with the Phillies fans, I said this on Twitter, they travel so well. So many Philly fans. It felt like it was 50-50 Phillies Cubs. And yeah, once the Phillies got that early lead, it was so loud in there. And I'm like, let's go. We're about to see a blowout. And who would have thought it was going to be a blowout for the Cubs? But shout out to Matt Ralph for, meeting me inside the stadium. And got to meet him and his son. So that was cool to watch some baseball with Matt. Dave Leno and I, we walked around the city on Wednesday before the Union game. So it was awesome taking in the sights with Dave. Shout out Dave, does an excellent job commentating on the Union's games on their radio broadcast on 97.5. And so, yeah, I would highly recommend going to Chicago, walking. It's just such a walkable city, walking along the river, doing the river walk, walking along Lake Michigan. Such a beautiful city. And going to Soldier Field, such a iconic venue. One of the oldest stadiums in the NFL. And I felt a lot of emotions being in there because obviously like the inside where they're playing the game that's been renovated in 2003, I believe it is. But like they still have the old concrete outside of the new stadium. And yeah, you could just tell that this was a very, very, very special place. And they go and re-renovate it in 2003. And shout out to them for, I guess, leaving the old structure outside of the stadium in place. But Chicago, fantastic. So thank you guys for listening to the podcast, the goals breakdown video. And again, I can't say enough good things about Chicago. Deep dish pizza, though, trash. Absolutely trash. But we have the news. We have the game to talk about, the Philadelphia Union versus New York Red Bulls. We have 3 stars, and then we have Blunder of the week. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about, the news, the game itself, because, what more can you say in a 0-0 draw? So Blunder of the Week is what I expect to be the longest segment of the podcast. So let's see if that winds up being the case. But without further ado, let's get straight into the news. All right, so only 3 news topics to bring up. That's number 1, going back to Atlanta United, and that is Caleb Wiley is being sold by Atlanta to Chelsea in the Premier League for $11 million. Chelsea are going to loan out Caleb Wiley to Strasbourg in Ligue 1 in France. 84 appearances for Atlanta United. Caleb Wiley had 6 goals, 8 assists. Fantastic player for Atlanta United. A young player too, I might add. A very, very young player. I believe only 19 years old. He'll be 20 in December. He'll be one of the players going with the U.S. for the Olympics, and it's a big deal. A big deal to represent your country, and we'll definitely share more thoughts on the Olympic squad because some Union players are in that 18-man squad. But moving on to point number 2, that is Nashville SC has named BJ Callaghan as their next head coach. The worst kept secret has finally been official. For people who are unaware of who BJ Callaghan is, well, he used to be Jim Curtin's assistant from 2014 to 2018. And before that, he was in the academy with the Union. He won the 2012 Generation Adidas Cup with the U17. So BJ has strong connections with the Union. And it's great to see him finally get a head coaching job in MLS or just a head coaching job in general. And once he left the Union from 2019 to 2024, he was with US Soccer at first as a strategy analyst, and then he eventually joined Greg Berhalter's staff as an assistant. Obviously, he won the 2023 CONCACAF Nations League when Greg Berhalter's future was up in air, and that's a big achievement there for BJ Callaghan to finally get a head coaching job, like I said. And Jim Curtin's coaching tree continues to blossom. First Pat Noonan and now BJ Callaghan. And I saw some people saying, well, it's really Greg Berhalter's coaching tree. I wouldn't say that, right? I definitely wouldn't say that. I would definitely say BJ Callaghan falls under the Jim Curtin coaching tree. But the last bit of news I want to talk about is Nathan Harriel and Jack McGlynn both included in the 2024 U.S. Men's U23 Olympic squad. It's a big honor for both of those guys. 2 guys who have worked their butts off, and especially Nate Harriel. I mean, this is a player who came onto the scene last year with the Union midway through the season, won the right back spot off of Olivier Bizo, and just continued to perform, and he continues to perform. And I've said so many nice things about Nate on this podcast, a huge Nate Harriel fan, and he definitely could have exposed me in the locker room when I asked him a question after the game, and we're not going to play it here. This is definitely on me for not doing my research, but I assume that the soccer team, the men's soccer team, would be walking out for the opening ceremonies. And Nate corrected me and said, nope, unfortunately they do not, because they have a game. I knew this on July 24th. Opening ceremonies are July 26th, and then July 27th, the U.S. has their second game. And so I assumed, and this is again on me, that the U.S. men's soccer team would be going to the opening ceremonies. And so I asked Nate how that feels, and Nate was like, unfortunately we don't get to go. Sucks. Like, come on. Like, I get it. You guys have a game against New Zealand on July 27th. But come on. Man, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way that everybody gets included for the opening ceremonies. But I guess, rest and recovery and all that stuff, and you want to make sure the players are energized for that second game, so it makes sense. But I appreciate Nate for not just throwing me to the wolves and making me look like a dummy, because I did a great job doing that as is. But yeah, I mean, every time I talk to Nate, fantastic kid, and he's a tremendous soccer player, and he's a player who I remember when he started coming onto the scene. I'm like, yeah, it seems like Nate Harriel could be a lifer in MLS, but just watching how far he's progressed last season with Union to what he is now, and just the crucial goals that he scored. Like, yes, teams love goal scorers, and in my opinion, Nate's the best threat for the Union on set pieces, whether that's defending or attacking. He's definitely got the highest jump out of anybody on the team, and we've seen him score so many goals off of headers. And I don't know. I mean, it's not crazy to say if Nate goes and has a great Olympic showing with the U.S., who's to say that teams don't come in and offer the Union crazy money for him? And especially for a player that's versatile and that can play multiple different positions. Yes, he's a right back by trade, but we've seen him play as center back. We've seen him play as left back. He can play every single position in the back line. And so really, really happy to see Nate get included. But then on the same hand, Jack McGlynn also gets included, like I said. And Jack's really been a fantastic player. He's been one of the Union's best players of this season, in my opinion. Last year, him and Leon Flock going head to head, fighting for that left midfield shuttle role. And at times it looked like Jack McGlynn was going to be the clear guy going forward. Then Leon Flock came and said, "Hey, not so fast." And yeah, I mean, it's healthy competition over there between the two of them. And Jack's been fantastic this season. Just his set piece deliveries, his ability from deep lying positions. And we'll get into Jack's game here in a little bit, because I think against Red Bulls, that's exactly how the Union should be utilizing Jack McGlynn going forward. But again, want to touch on that here in a little bit. But yeah, to see both of these guys called up, named in the 18-man squad, that's a huge honor. And, I, yeah, obviously they're super excited to represent the United States. But at the same time, too, you're going to have the last name of Harriel, the last name of McGlynn. Like, you're putting your family on the map. And yeah, I can't imagine, the pressure that those guys might feel that, hey, look, I want to do my family proud, because they're already doing their families proud with being professional soccer players, with, playing for the Union, getting called up to the Olympics. And, whatever they do in the Olympics is just going to make their families even more happy. And so I can't imagine what's going through their minds, just thinking, hey, look, I have a chance to put the McGlynn, the Harriel household on the world map for the whole world to see. And so that's exciting, but also a little nerve wracking, I'd imagine, too. So yeah, really, really happy for these two guys to get caught up. The rest of the squad looks like, if you guys haven't seen it, Patrick Schulte, who plays for the Columbus Crew, then Gaga Salina, who is with Chelsea, the former Chicago Fire goalkeeper. Then you have Walker Zimmerman, who's one of the 3 over 23-year-olds on the squad with Nashville, John Tolkien with New York Red Bulls, Caleb Wiley with Atlanta United, Maximilian Dietz with 4th in Germany. You have Miles Robinson, the 2nd over U23 player with FC Cincinnati. You have Gianluca Busio with Venezia. You have Tanner Tesserman with Venezia as well. Jack McGlynn, Ben Kermashi with Inter Miami. Jordy Mihailovic is the 3rd over U23 player with Colorado Rapids. Kevin Paredes with Wolfsburg in Germany. Taylor Booth, Paxton Aronson, Duncan McGuire, and Griffin Yao. And yeah, I mean, we talk about Jack and Nate, but seeing Paxton Aronson also get included, a former Philadelphia Union player, it's a lot of Union ties in this 18-man roster. And Paxton Aronson, for those unaware how the U.S. qualified for the Olympics, well, they simply won the CONCACAF U20 championship in 2022. And Paxton Aronson had a fantastic tournament, 7 goals scored in that tournament. And that's when, Paxton really started to make a name for herself. And Union fans were like, well, we're not going to have Paxton for much longer, because he absolutely dominated at this international competition. And it's funny, too, just looking at the results. I mean, the U.S. won 10-0 in one of their games. Then they tied against Canada 2-2, beat Cuba 3-0. Quinn Sullivan scored a hat trick in that game. And just looking at that roster, I mean, there's so many Union ties on that that team that won the U20 championship in 2022, Brendan Craig, Jack McGlynn, Paxton Aronson, Quinn Sullivan. And it's proof that the academy is working, that, the academy is producing good players. And we've seen Paxton now move on to Europe. Jack McGlynn, could he be the next player? I do believe so. Quinn Sullivan could potentially be a player too that moves to Europe eventually. Brendan Craig, we know that there was links over the wintertime linking him to Everton, and he wound up going on loan to El Paso. So, yeah, I mean, the Union's Academy is doing a good job just getting these guys prepared for first team minutes and getting them prepared for these huge competitions. And uh, again, I mean, I can't imagine what's going through Nate and Jack and Paxton Aronson and just the rest of these players that are on this roster to represent your country, where the whole country is watching, but not only that, the whole world's watching. And so hopefully these guys can come home and bring home a medal. It's the first time since 2008 that the U.S. has been at the Olympics for soccer. So really, really happy for these guys, and especially Nate and Jack. I mean, both of these guys are always fantastic to talk to in the locker room. The most respectful kids. And I think that's a credit to the way that their families have raised them. So let's go ahead, though, and talk about the Philadelphia Union versus New York Red Bulls game. As we know, that game ended 0-0. And what can you really say in a game that was scoreless? And I say thank you to everybody who watched the goals breakdown video. I mean, it's kind of hard to break down film when there's not a lot that goes on, and especially when there's 0 goals. But what I would say is it wasn't a loss for the Union. It ended a 5-game losing streak. It's a positive. Can the Union build on this? You have 12 games going for it. You're 3 points out of 9th place, 6 home, 6 away. And it's crazy to think about that. Yeah, the Union still have a chance to make the playoffs. 12 games left. Yes, everybody's so upset with the way that the Union are playing this year, and as they should. 4 wins, 9 draws, 9 losses. It's not been great for the Union by their standards this year. And maybe, just maybe, this 0-0 draw against New York Red Bulls, who are a really good team this year. I mean, coming into this game, they had 9 wins, 4 losses, 8 draws, and they had 35 points. And they're a team that has 36 goals. They're a team that's been transformed under Schwartz, their new coach. And to see the Union keep them scoreless, it's positives, especially when you look at all the goals the Union have really been conceding the last 4 or 5 games. I mean, it's multiple 4 goals giving up in games against Cincinnati, against Montreal, against Chicago, and then you come out and keep a clean sheet. And it's so weird how soccer works sometimes. And I think part of that is, the Union switched to a back 3. You have all 3 of your center backs in there, and Jacob Glesnes, Damion Lowe, Jack Elliott, then obviously Harriel and Wagner as your 2 wing backs. And we can talk about formations here in a bit, if that's cool with you guys. Of course it is. But the negative is it's still only 1 win in 16 games. And you expect, or at least last year and the years prior, you always expected to see a Union win at Subaru Park. And wins have been hard to come by at Subaru Park. Only 1 win, and that came against Minnesota all the way back in March. So the Union, 6 more home games left. They have 2 games at home in Leagues Cup, and I don't know, maybe the Union can start finding their form in Leagues Cup. Maybe this is the game against New York Red Bulls that helps the Union find their form. Jim Curtin was asked after the game, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of bleeding going on by your team in previous games. You get the draw, keep a clean sheet. Andrew Rick, who gets a starting goal, keeps his first career clean sheet. Is this something to build on?
It's not enough, and it's not going to make anyone really too happy. But there should be a belief from the group that we can keep a clean sheet against a good team. As guys, again, come back, I think we'll get stronger as a team defensively. We've scored enough goals this year, and the data will show you that. We've produced enough chances. Didn't get a goal tonight, obviously, but if you go through the numbers, we're doing all right in terms of attacking. But where we've come up small as a team is the defensive side. And if you concede goals in the way that we have, in the moments that we have, it's physically, emotionally, mentally really, really draining for the guys, because you have those moments where it's here we go again kind of thing. And I thought tonight they at least pushed through it. Look, Red Bull still had chances too. Don't get me wrong, but still something to build on. I think we're down to 6 home games, 6 away games, and it's going to be up to us. If we want to be in the playoffs, we're going to have to start to make a run for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go all the way back to May 29th is the last time the Union kept a clean sheet. That was also at home against Toronto. But then after that Toronto game was 2 goals conceded, 2 against Miami, 4 against Cincinnati, 2 against Charlotte, 4 against Montreal, 4 against Chicago. And now you come back and keep a clean sheet against the New York Red Bulls. And so, yeah, I mean, hopefully this is something the Union can build off of. And maybe the defense is fixed. Maybe. The second clip that I'm going to play here in a bit, Jim Curtin talks about not liking playing 3 in the back, but it did help the team keep a clean sheet. And I do wonder, okay, well, you obviously prefer playing in the diamond. We all know that. But if you continue to keep clean sheets playing 3 in the back, then do you just stick with that? I mean, we see so many teams in MLS now playing with three center backs, and the Union have struggled this year facing off against teams that play that way. And they played well against Red Bulls when they deployed 3 in the back, when the Union deployed the 3 in the back. And so they created chances, like Jim said, and yeah, obviously they didn't score any goals, and they've been scoring goals, all season long, really. I mean, there was, I forget the number, it was like 19 or 18, 17, something games like that. 17 games in a row, I think it was, where the Union had scored a goal. So they were finding ways to score, but just conceding way too many goals. Union have only been shut out 3 times this season: Charlotte, Toronto, Charlotte again, and New York Red Bull. So 4 times this season. So only 4 times. I mean, yeah, scoring goals isn't an issue for the Union. Yes, I know. No goals against New York Red Bulls, and it's not like they didn't have chances. They have plenty of chances, in my opinion. Ty Baribo, Daniel Gazdag, they probably had the Union's best chances in the second half, where Gazdag has a shot after a beautiful ball by Jack McGlynn into him. I don't think Daniel positioned himself well and winds up shooting with his left foot. Cornell makes a save. The ball falls to Baribo, and Cornell makes a save again. That's got to fall in the back of the net, one of those 2 shots. But to Cornell's credit, I mean, he was excellent all game long. And I saw that he won Team of the Match Day honors for his performance against the Union. I don't know. I think Andrew Rick was probably the better goalkeeper. I think Red Bulls had the more chances, I'll say. I wouldn't say easier chances, or maybe you guys would say they were easier chances to score. And Andrew Rick played well, and we'll talk about Andrew here in a bit. But yeah, I just thought the Union, despite not scoring any goals, there was definitely goals on the table that they left, and Cornell played well. But I brought up Jack McGlynn, and I'll talk about him here. Fantastic for me, man of the match, and this is really where the Union need to be playing him, in my opinion. You play him next to somebody who's going to do the dirty work to cover for him defensively, because when you look at Jack's numbers in this game, and no surprise to anybody, Jack McGlynn, my number 1 star in the night, didn't have the greatest defensive numbers. 0 out of 1 tackles won, 4 ball recoveries, and he was dribbled by 1 time. Other than that, I mean, he did nothing defensively, and he had 2 out of 3 ground duels won. But yeah, I mean, he wasn't asked to do anything defensively. That's why you have Liam Flock. Liam Flock was doing all that work in the defense for you, and you play with 3 center backs. They can help out defensively as well, and they did. Damion Lowe, excellent, and We'll talk about Damion here in a second, get Jim Curtin's thoughts on his performance. But you pair a holding midfielder next to Jack McGlynn, you get Jack McGlynn on the ball. You let him spray the ball around. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, the amount of times that he switched the ball from the right hand side to the left hand side to Kai Wagner, and it was the most perfect balls. We saw him play balls to the back post to Daniel Gazdag to Leon Flock. That through ball that he played to Daniel Gazdag in the 56th minute, something like that, where Gazdag had a chance, saved, falls to Cerebro, saved. I mean, Daniel Gazdag, I thought, had a solid game. Definitely got himself in good shooting positions. Couldn't finish any of the chances created for him. But it was really the passing and the vision by Jack McGlynn. And this is where I wish the Union would utilize him more. I know, again, Jim Curtin doesn't like playing 3 in the back, 3-5-2, likes playing the diamond. And so you can't have a player sit next to Jack McGlynn in the diamond. But if you want to get the best out of your players, or get the best out of Jack McGlynn, this is what you want to do. And Jim Curtin knows that. Jack knows that. And it's obvious that this team knew it too, because Jack McGlynn had 76 touches, the most touches out of any players for the Union. The Union know who their playmaker is. And the Red Bulls struggled. They really did struggle to contain him in the first half. And a little bit unfortunate that the Union couldn't get a goal in the first half, but then in the second half specifically, and you started to see, as that game went on, Red Bull started to man mark Jack a little bit more and took him out of the game. But for the most part, I mean, Jack McGlynn was unstoppable, creating chances. And I go back to, if he has a good tournament in the Olympics, I wouldn't be surprised if Jack McGlynn winds up getting sold by the Union. I mean, he's that good. He's a player who is destined for Europe. He is a player that can play in Europe, will play in Europe. The question is when. And if you told me, yeah, Jack McGlynn comes away having 2 assists, a ton of chances created at the Olympics, he'll be gone. 100% he'll be gone. And I wouldn't blame the Union if they sold him. I mean, with the way that the season's going, you already sold Julian Carranza, so nobody's untouchable. And if you get a good enough offer for Jack McGlynn, you sell him. But I also want to point out too, and Jim said it too in that clip, that, yeah, Red Bulls had chances, 5 saves for Andrew Rick. But in the 86th minute, the Union very, very, very fortunate that they didn't concede to Manuel. Red Bulls did a good job going through the middle of the field, eventually work the ball out to the right-hand side. Ball gets crossed into Manuel, does a good job to get in between Jacob Glesnes and Damion Lowe, and he can't put the shot on target. Andrew Rick's beat. It's a fantastic ball whipped in on the ground to Manuel. It's a great run, but he can't finish. And there's a reason why he's not playing for the top teams in Brazil. It's why he didn't leave Brazil, go to Europe. He just can't finish. And if he can correct that, he has a speed. He's very, very fast. He has the movement, but if he can get that finishing product down, then I don't see why, he can't be a player playing in Europe. It's kind of like Sergio Santos a little bit too, right? Where Sergio had good positioning, had the speed, but 1, he couldn't stay healthy, and then 2, I mean, there were so many chances that Sergio would just fluff, and that's what made fans so upset with Sergio Santos. But at the end of the day, 0-0 draw, probably the right result. Well, at least a draw, I should say. A draw is probably the right result. Let's go ahead and talk about Andrew Rick real quick. We'll get to Damion Lowe. 3 stars, and then Blunder of the Week, because I know Blunder of the Week is going to be so long. Andrew Rick, fantastic in his 3rd start of the season. 5 saves, kept a clean sheet. And the thing that makes me notice him is he's very vocal with his back line. When he makes a save in the second half on Cameron Harper, Jacob Glesnes goes up to him, hugs him, encourages him. But you see Andrew Rick go to his teammates, point to his head, focus, let's focus. Look, yes, I made a big save here, but that was a good opportunity there for New York Red Bulls. We need to be disciplined. We need to be focused from the start of the game to the end of the game. And to me, he really has traits of being a leader. And this is a player who could wind up playing in Philadelphia for a very, very long time. But it's also possible too that, he has the ability to play in Europe. And what better player to learn under than Andre Blake? What better coach to learn under than Phil Wheaton? And just seeing how vocal he is, his positioning, those are key attributes to being a good goalkeeper. You constantly want to be talking to your back line, telling them what you see, saying, hey, look, move here, move there. You're just constantly communicating. And then just seeing how he has his feet set up, when to come for the ball, when not to come for the ball. I mean, we saw it with the first chance in the game, the first save that he makes against Dante Van Zier, gets in behind the Union's back line. Andrew Rick comes out of his goal a little bit. Van Zier tries to chip Andrew, and Andrew makes a save. And yes, I know that he struggled against Montreal, gave up 4 goals, gets nutmegged on the free kick by Bryce Duke. But he's still a goalkeeper that's, number one, 18 years old, super raw. But he's a goalkeeper that has a lot of potential. And to see him play very, very well for the Union, to have that kind of game, that's going to instill confidence in him, number one. But it's also going to instill confidence in the defense where, look, hopefully the Union get Andre Blake back for Toronto. We'll see. Jim Curtin will give us an update at some point this week during his midweek press conference. I would imagine that's on Thursday, maybe Friday. But we'll get an update from Jim Curtin. And if it has to be Andrew Rick again, this is a great game against New York Red Bulls for you to keep a clean sheet and to take that into Toronto and continue just to be called upon however long the Union are going to call your name. Because as Jim Curtin said last week that, Andrew Rick's a goalkeeper going forward for however long Andre Blake may be out for. But another player that returned to the Union, a fellow Jamaican international with Andre Blake, is Damion Lowe. And I thought Damion had a really good game. I mean, obviously his pace makes a huge difference on a back line that's not the quickest, not the fastest. And if you're going to play 3 in the back, you definitely want to have somebody that has good pace. And Damion was good. His positioning, for the most part, is usually really solid. And if he gets beat, those long legs, the speed that he has can make up for the mistakes. And I just thought, man, marking really, really excellent. He read the game so well against New York Red Bulls over the weekend. And Jim Curtin was asked about, playing in a back 3, what his thoughts were on Damion Lowe's performance. And this is what Jim had to say.
Yeah, I think you guys know I don't love playing in a back 3, but when you concede as many goals as we have in recent weeks, we decided to do it just because the bodies that are here, the quality of the players that are here, and the experience that they had. That position is one where we have 3 guys that have been through these types of battles against a strong Red Bull team. So I thought Damion was really good. Won a lot of duels, put out a lot of fires. Still things we can clean up because Red Bull had some chances too, as did we. But overall, a really solid performance and good to have him back for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Good to have Damion Lowe back. And we'll see if the Union go with 3 in the back against Toronto over the weekend. We saw Toronto play 3 in the back against the Union, and the Union struggled against that. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see just both teams going at each other in the 3 in the back. Yes, the Union kept a clean sheet when they played the Diamond against Toronto. Yes, Jose Martinez will be back with the Union. And so maybe because of that, you decide, we can go back to playing the Diamond, play Liam Flock on the left side as the shuttler, because Jim Curtin let us know after the game that Nate Harriel and Jack McGlynn, that was their last game until they come back from the Olympics. So the Union will be missing those 2 guys for the foreseeable future. But Damion Lowe, again, I mean, really good on the night and bringing his leadership. And I thought he had a pretty good Copa America with Jamaica, despite Jamaica not progressing out of their group. Just that experience and getting players back is exactly what this team needs. And it's hard to be super excited about a 0-0 draw, only winning 1 game in your last 16. It's hard to be excited about all that. I get it. And I'm frustrated just like you guys. But at the same time, you need something to build off of. And I think this is a game that the Union can definitely build off of. But let's go ahead quickly, talk about 3 stars on the night. And I talked about all the players that I thought had the best games for the Union already. But I'll go ahead and give you guys their stat lines. Number 3, Damion Lowe, 1 tackle, 1 interception, 1 block, 7 ball recoveries, 6 out of 7 aerial duels, 1. Number 2 on that list, Andrew Rick. He had 5 saves. Again, don't have to say too much about him. And then Jack McGlynn was number 1, in my opinion. And what a fantastic performance. 3 chances created, 61 out of 68 passes completed. That's good for 90%. Had 1 shot, 1 target. Fantastic shot in the first half. And that's a great save by Cornell. I included that in my goals breakdown video. 76 touches, like I mentioned. 1 out of 1 dribbles, 1. 13 passes into the final third. 12 out of 12 accurate long balls. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. You let him sit deep, be that deep lying playmaker, allow a player to do all the defensive stuff for him. You get Jack McGlynn on the ball. He's going to play make for you, and that's exactly what he did against New York Red Bulls. Defensively, like I mentioned, didn't do much, but he didn't need to. When you play him next to Leon Flock and you play 3 center backs, they can also cover for him. So really, really solid game for Jack McGlynn. That's going to give him a lot of confidence going into the Olympics, and really, really happy with the performance from Jack McGlynn. But I do realize you guys are probably like, well, Todd, besides the game, there was something even bigger that happened. And it happened before the game and during the game. And why haven't you talked about it yet? Well, it should be no surprise to anybody here that Blunder of the Week this week is going to go to the Sons of Ben. And I don't think anybody, any listeners, have any problems with that.
Yeah, not good.
And so if you guys aren't paying attention to what happened on social media, I'll get you guys caught up because we can talk about what happened or what didn't happen during the game. So the Sons of Ben, they released a statement on fans wanting a protest. And so the original shared post on Twitter, because they took down the statement 2 times, made 3 posts about it on Twitter, left everything else up on Facebook and on Instagram. I do believe that Twitter was where they were getting the most hate. So that's why they redid the post a couple times. But if you guys haven't seen the statement, I'll go ahead and give you guys the courtesy of reading the statement. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll leave it in the show description if you guys truly want to read this. And I don't want to throw anybody by name under the bus. I do want to come off saying that. And I also want to say, too, that I realize my opinion doesn't matter because I'm not a Sons of Ben member. I was at one point a Sons of Ben member for like 2 years, I think, from 2019 to 2021. But then I didn't agree with the direction that the group was going. And I said, it's not worth my $40 or whatever it is to be a member. So I decided, yep, I'm not going to renew my membership. And that's fine. People can make their decisions. And so I do understand, too, that my opinion doesn't matter on this whole situation since I'm not a Sons of Ben member. But I do have thoughts, and I am going to share those thoughts. So this statement, very, very hard for people to read. And people called out the Sons of Ben for it, and they did not like that. Or I should say, their social media person did not like that. And again, I'm not going to name names. If you guys really want to find out who I'm talking about, I'm sure it's not that hard for you guys to find out who these people are, but we're not going to name names. So the statement read, "We, the Sons of Ben board and Capo Pool, have heard the calls for protests and statements regarding the current state of the team and the apparent lack of resources being put into the team. I called for a meeting between the board, Capo, and former board members who served with me in 2015 to discuss when and how we, the Sons of Ben, would protest. This meeting took place on July 1st, with the caveat that they should first not do anything that would put the Sons of Ben as an organization at risk. The Capo Pool and board met, and all ideas were discussed, including suggestions from other members to anonymous social media posts. My other point of emphasis to those in attendance was to not abandon the players or let it be questioned if we are. This was something asked by Jim Curtin when I spoke with him on June 21st. Everyone in attendance was given the right to speak, and those not in attendance had their points read aloud. In the end, There's no one answer, of course, of action that would reflect what all of our membership base wants done. This is nearly identical to the board discussions in 2015. I've spent the last few weeks reading through them, looking for guidance. And so the rest of it, you guys can read. It's a whole bunch of quotes, and then it's talking about what Jarrett, who's the head capo, was suggesting what the Sons of Ben were going to be doing. And I'll go ahead and read that statement that Jarrett put out for you guys, because this statement got a lot of people as well. It is important for the fans' voice to be heard. This team is here because of the fans' persistence to bringing a team to Philadelphia to show what things will look like if the fan base is lost. Starting today, we are calling fans to remain silent for the first 5 minutes of every home game, representing the current 5-game losing streak. For every loss moving forward, a minute will be added. Feel free to either sit or stand during this time. After the allotted time, we are asking for full voice and support for the players and coaches on the field to remind the team that we are still there for them. If things continue to stay at the current state, there's a plan of progression in place. And so the reason I named Jarrett was because he was named in this statement by Sons of Ben. And that statement was put out by Ryan Bross, the Sons of Ben president. So, yeah, I'll put their names out there because they included their names in this statement released by the Sons of Ben. And so fans obviously weren't happy with this statement put out by the Sons of Ben. They weren't happy with the statement put out by Jarrett. But I think what really got people pissed off is it was hard to read this statement. And so fans, rightfully so, called out the Sons of Ben. And so the social media person for Sons of Ben wasn't happy with that. So he takes down the post on Twitter and they release a easier to read version. But they include a couple eye emojis, the look, and then they say, for the many having a hard time reading, ... And so now you have the Sons of Ben, the social media person for the organization, gaslighting people, being sassy, going back and forth with people on Instagram. And so they get called out for that. They delete that statement and they release a third version saying, good morning, Sons of Ben. It's game day for immediate release, ... That's all they had to do. That is literally all they had to do is say, good morning, Sons of Ben. It's game day for immediate release. Here's the PDF file. Have at it. But no, you release a version that's very, very difficult to read. Fans call you out for it, and you don't like that. You don't like the hate that fans are giving you. And so you come out and make a second post, but you start mocking these fans for not being able to read it. And so that's going to piss people off even more. And apparently, on Instagram, the official Sons of Ben account was deleting people's comments on this post. And it's not a great look. That is not a great look at all. Deleting people's comments because you don't agree with them. You don't like getting called out. But then you start gaslighting people. You delete this statement 2 times, have to release it 3 times. You have a go at fans. It's not a great look. If you want to do this on your personal account, by all means, do it. That's fine. But from the official account, it's not professional. Very, very unprofessional. And again, it should not be tweeted from an official account, having go at fans, especially the paying members. Because remember, without fans, there is no Sons of Ben. There is no Philadelphia Union team. Because I think wholeheartedly, and this shouldn't be hard to ask, that paying members deserve transparency from the Sons of Ben. And so supposedly there's around 1,500 Sons of Ben members. And I pulled these numbers from the last election. Only 542 people voted. People didn't vote for every category. Member at large had the most votes. And so that's where I get the 542 number from, because there was 542 people that voted in that category. And so if we take the supposed 1,500 members and the 542 people that voted last election, that's only 36% of your members participating in the elections. And so my question would be, are the best people for these positions getting voted in? Well, only 36% of your members are voting. And I would say probably not. And so that tells me a couple of things. One, that members don't know about the elections. And so you got to market it better. And so if I'm not mistaken, again, it's been a while since I've been a Sons of Ben member from 2019, 2021. And so they would send out emails at the end of the season, I believe it is, saying, hey, look, here's election, here's the candidates. And then I think they would have a couple social media posts. But that's pretty much it. So why elections aren't getting promoted during games? Maybe they are now, I'm not sure. But you would think, there would be better marketing over these elections. And I also want to say too, by the way, only 36% of the members are voting. And I realize like during political elections and everything, not every single citizen's voting. I get that. But I can guarantee you that there's more than 36% of the country voting. There's got to be. And so it's not great numbers. And so that's why I say, are the best people getting voted into these positions? Probably not. But then number two, I think, is maybe people simply don't care. They just sign up for the cheap beer and food, which I think is probably the case here. That's why a lot of people sign up to be Sons of Ben members, because it's like $15, $20. I don't know what it is to get all you can eat food, all you can drink beer. A lot cheaper than getting food in the concessions in the stadium. A lot cheaper than going to Union Yard. So I get why people sign up to be a Sons of Ben member, to get a little bit of a discount, to get all you can eat food, all you can drink alcohol. Makes perfect sense to me. But 36% of your members, it's not great. And the one thing that irks me is anytime that the Sons of Ben get called out, people in their leadership on their board get called out, the number one thing that they resort to these people is, well, if you don't like it, then run. And that's not a great response at all. Because I know personally plenty of people who have run and they wind up losing in the election. And those people actually seem to have really good ideas. Actually seem like they wanted to make the group better, or had ideas how to make the group better. But, and this is something that I've noticed from afar before I even became a Sons of Ben member, is that it's a popularity contest. That there's so many cliques. It's about who you know. And I get, right, you make those connections by volunteering at tailgates, whether it's checking people in, you're going around serving food, you're serving alcohol, or you just simply go around talking to people. That's how you get your name out there. That's how you get people knowing who you are. So I can't blame the Sons of Ben for that. These people that do run for positions, you got to do a better job marketing yourself. I fully get that. But at the same time, why is that always your go-to? Well, if you don't like it, then run for this position. Because I fully understand. I want this point to get across, that whatever the group decides, that not everybody's going to be happy. Whatever the ultimate outcome is, that the group as itself's not all going to be happy. There's going to be people that are upset. But that's just it. Remember, you people on the board, you represent the group, not yourself. And from some of the people on the board, it does seem like it's their self-interest over the members. And it's very apparent, just watching that from afar, that some people in that group in leadership care more about themselves than they do the group as a whole. And so I get it. I 100% get why people in this organization are frustrated, because they feel like their voices aren't being heard. You hear things like, oh, we have a plan, with the caveat that they should first not do anything that would put the Sons of Ben as an organization at risk. Fans are, or I should say leadership, is afraid to lose their perks, flying flags, using smoke bombs, using drums. Hey, look, if you guys get that taken away, that's on the club. That is 100% on the club. The rest of the league is going to see that, and they're going to start questioning and saying, why is there no smoke bombs? Why is there no drums? Why is there no flags being flown in the river end? What's going on with the Sons of Ben? People are going to ask questions. And when those questions get asked, saying, oh, well, it's because we brought in a TIFO, that we aren't happy with our ownership, that we want the ownership to sell. then the team's going to look bad, not the Sons of Ben. And I guarantee you, all the other supporters in MLS, all the other supporters groups are going to have the Sons of Ben back. Guaranteed. So what if you get smoke bombs and flags and drums taken away? That's on the club. The club looked bad. Not you, not the Sons of Ben. The club. The club looks bad, not you. And I saw some people on social media say, well, they're just too afraid to lose their credentials. And some people come out and said, nah, we don't care. It's not about that. We don't get access like people think we do. Okay, fine. I'm not even going to address those comments by people. I'm going to address the comments that I saw by someone in the leadership board saying that they don't want to lose flags. They don't want to lose smoke bombs. They don't want to lose drums. That they fought hard to get all that, which I'm sure they did. Absolutely. But when the atmosphere doesn't look great, it's not on you. It's on the club. It's on the club for retaliating against you, for not being okay with you protesting ownership. And so a couple more points I'll bring up was, number one, the statement was weak. And I think it's pretty clear that there's people on the Sons of Ben board who shouldn't be there. That many people that are, whether you're cappers or whether you're on the board itself, many people are there just for the clout. What they get you, I'm not quite sure. Could you get a little plastic badge? Oh, because you get to walk around the river end. That's what people love. You get pictures taken of you. People do it for the attention. Not everybody. I'm fully aware of that. I know there are good people on the board that really want the best for the group. There are capos that are there to energize the crowd and not there for themselves. But unfortunately, and you're going to have this in every group. I'm fully aware of that too. You're going to have people that are definitely there for themselves and not the overall group. But because we're seeing countless people, and like I said, I've heard countless stories from people saying they've gone to the Sons of Ben, they've given them ideas, and it goes in one ear, out the other. And fans are ticked off. And so what should have been fans being upset with the ownership has now turned into fans being upset with the Sons of Ben. You've completely taken away what fans wanted to protest and now turned it into you. The Sons of Ben have completely taken away where this energy should have been directed at the ownership, or at least where the fans thought that the energy should be directed towards the ownership. Now it's being directed at the Sons of Ben because you wind up doing nothing. You make a giant tifo that says help won it, and you leave it in the parking lot. It's a great job. You sit or stand there for 5 minutes and don't chant. Man, it's a great protest. It did so much. It's a weak statement, a weak protest. And you look at, and this isn't a Keystone State Ultras versus Sons of Ben, but you look at what they did. They brought in a tifo, and they got it confiscated. And the union staffer, the security guards that took this away, I don't blame them at all. Keystone doesn't blame them at all because they're just doing their job. MLS rules, fan of conduct, says signs, banners, or flags larger than 2 feet by 5 feet aren't allowed in the stadium. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. That's fine. And so to come out and take a banner that's definitely a lot taller than that, no issues with me whatsoever. But there was definitely some signs in there that said sell the team that were definitely not as big as what the requirements are for MLS's fan code of conduct, and they got taken away. That's an issue. But hey, look, at least Keystone tried to do something. They try to do something. And again, this isn't them versus Sons of Ben. No. But the Sons of Ben acting like, oh, we have a plan in place. We're going to do something. And you don't do anything. You stand there for 5 minutes and don't say a word. You don't bring in a tifo that you had painted, that you wanted to bring into the stadium, but for whatever reason, you leave it outside just so everybody walking by can see it. Come on now. What are we doing? So weak statement, weak protest. Sons of Ben come out and say, hey, well, look, we got a meeting with ownership. They said they want to meet. We've agreed to meet with ownership. But come on now. Are we really being serious that, oh, they got this meeting? It's because of their 5-minute protest. It's because they didn't bring in a tifo. Now they want to meet with us. No. It is not why the ownership wants to meet with you. Guys can't take credit for that, but some people on the board are. Hey, look, I made a statement. We made a statement, and now the ownership's paying attention. Look at all we done. No. And so something that, like I said, was all about fans protesting ownership, what the fans wanted to do, has now turned in the fans being pissed at Sons of Ben. So way to deflect and take away the main point and make it about yourselves. Way to go. And I don't think that there's any way to make every single person happy. And frankly, I'm not quite sure what kind of protest is going to make a difference other than not buying concessions, not buying merchandise, and this is really hard, I know, canceling season tickets. You hurt them where the money is. If that's how you want to protest, that's how you want to make a difference, you hurt where their money revenue's at. But unfortunately, most fans won't do that. I'm fully aware. Most fans will not. I'm sure there are some fans out there that aren't buying concessions, aren't buying merchandise, or canceling their season tickets. But a majority of the fan base isn't going to do that. But, I applaud Keystone for doing what they thought was right. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with this situation with the Sons of Ben going forward. We'll see what happens if anything comes of this meeting between the Sons of Ben and ownership. And I'll be curious. I'll be curious and see if we get the full truth. I'll be curious when that meeting takes place and what all is going to be said. But again, fully aware that my opinion doesn't matter because I'm not a member, and it shouldn't matter. I have thoughts, and some people are probably going to say, well, keep your thoughts to yourself. They don't matter. You're not a member. You're not making a difference. Maybe you're right, but it's a lot of people that have a lot of people that have thoughts. And like I said, I wasn't happy with the way that the group was going, and I'll get hit with, well, then maybe you should run. Nah, I'm good. I'm good. And when you hear some other things, how the organization's being run from behind the scenes, it makes you definitely not want to run when things aren't great behind the scenes, and some people have more power than what other people have. So that's how I'll leave it. So I'm sure I'll probably get hate mail. I'm sure I've upset some people, but had to do it. And I'm sure you guys will agree with my thoughts on everything that went down or what didn't go down. So if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. Check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod, and Substack, thefreekick.substack.com. And yeah, thank you guys, as always, for the support. Thank you guys for telling me what you like, what you don't like. I feel like I say the same thing every single episode. And one thing I forgot to mention, for the Olympics, Jose Nunez and I are working on a piece. We'll have that released, I don't know, sometime towards the end of the week, talking about Jack McGlynn, talking about Nate Harriel, and what that means for the union. So make sure to check that out. I think it's going to be on Jose's Substack, and we'll figure out a way how to get that posted on mine too. But I will definitely let you guys know on social media when that gets released, when that gets published. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.